Hello everyone and welcome to our Hey Legal live stream entitled Kickstart 2025 Quick Wins for Lawyers to Start the Year. I'm your host Edith Forrest Casey and we are live on YouTube and LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us this evening, our first live stream of the year, and we have an exciting lineup of expert contributors who are going to share their insights to help you start the year on the first foot, or on the front foot and the first foot. We'll cover personal financial well-being and why that matters, tech wins, tips on managing your law firm finances and making your online presence work for you. Each of our guests will have time to share an online of key focus areas for them in 2025 and an actionable tip or two on their area of expertise. They'll deliver their insights in a way that's accessible and practical. Think quick wins that you can implement right away. And as ever on Hey Legal, we are keeping things light and conversational. So without further ado, let's welcome our first guest for Carla, who is Carla Hope of Wealthbright. And Carla is joining us now. Hello, Carla. Welcome to Hey Legal.
Hi, Edith. Thanks for having me. Great to be here this evening. Thanks for having me along.
You're very welcome, Carla. So I think we are going to, let me just introduce you first. And I think we've got a little video that's prepared for us. So Carla, you founded Wealthbright in 2021. And I think at that time you were on track to become a partner in a big firm, but you decided to change paths, breaking away from the taboo around financial literacy in the UK. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So I actually started off my career as a lawyer. I'll talk a little bit more about this as we go through, but I spent 15 years working in professional services firms, and I guess one of the great myths in terms of what we often see amongst professional organizations is that folks can get to a very senior level in their organizations and have many years of experience under their belt, but not necessarily feel confident when it comes to managing their personal finances. And I think there's an extra layer, I suppose, of complexity to that arrangement, particularly when we've been working with lawyers, which is, of course, lawyers are paid to be the expert in the room. So to put your hand up and say, actually, maybe I don't know or I need help can be very difficult. So we've been doing a lot of work to kind of bust the taboo, break the taboo around money in the workplace. So I passed to Ali a little short video. It's less than 2 minutes long. Just we'll give you a bit of a sneak peek and preview of the type of work and the conversations we have, and then I'll kind of move on to some of the things people can be thinking about doing today if they want to take action in this space.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's roll the video and then we can chat some more after that. Thanks, Carla.
Okay.
I'm absolutely delighted that we're here today launching our digital platform.
It makes total sense that money worries affect performance of work. You've only got so much headspace, and if your mind is elsewhere, thinking about how you're going to pay the rent or increasing bills, etc., how can you possibly be fully focused on your day-to-day job?
So I'll talk from a personal perspective and also from a therapist perspective. From a personal perspective, I was inspired and motivated and earned a lot of money for a lot of different companies, yet I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know why I was being taxed. I didn't know how to use my money effectively for me. Now as a therapist, one of the fundamental things I see is that people are worrying about their finances. And this is not mid-level, this is executive level. What do I do with my money and how can I look after myself, my family, for the long term, not short term?
I think offering financial education is really, really important for businesses. I think particularly in the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen a massive, massive shift in terms of what employees want from their employers. I think with the Great Resignation and things moving towards remote work, the lines have become a lot more blurred between life and work. and people are expecting from their employers what they're expecting from a life. It's not just a paycheck. So I think offering those things, which are more than just work benefits, actual life benefits, helping people to achieve whatever their life goals are, get on the property ladder, get into investing, whatever those things are, having those added benefits can really help you stand apart as an employer.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. Yeah, so Carla, yeah, I'll just leave the floor to you. Do you want to just explain about how the whole Wealthbright came about, and maybe a bit more about your background as a lawyer as well? Would be really interesting.
Thanks, Edith. I will. Yeah. Ali, I don't know if you're going to share slides or if I will. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dive into it. And I suppose just, want to recognize for everybody on the call that, of course, we started with a proposition of quick wins for lawyers to start the year, and we've starting with the tough one, right? Which is managing your money. And I think, I was sort of, when I was putting this together, I was thinking, I don't know how many of you would either resonate or recognize either yourselves or others around you, either at home or at work, from some of what was shared in that video. Or perhaps you're someone who's kind of staring down the barrel of the third weekend of January, that long last weekend before finally payday comes round next week. Maybe you're suffering from something of a bit of a financial hangover after Christmas and New Year's. And I suppose I wanted to start by saying that actually you're not alone, if that is you. Ali, you can move on to the next slide. Thank you. And I suppose the reason for that is, of course, that we all have our own story. We all bring our own financial baggage to the table. And a lot of that is actually as a result of how we've maybe been brought up, the types of experiences and education we've had. Probably doesn't come as a surprise to those on the call that, of course, financial education doesn't come as standard in the UK. So we are often left to kind of figure it out for ourselves, a bit of sort of trial and error. And if you're lucky, someone might take you under their wing and maybe show you a few things. But for an awful lot of people, it's really just a case of trying to figure it out. And that doesn't always end up in positive results, but sometimes it does. So that's, in a nutshell, some of the pain and the problem. But and that's why Wealthbright exists. And Ali, if you want to flick on to the next slide, I was going to say a bit about me. So here I am on graduation day with a questionable blonde highlights in my hair. But I graduated and studied law at university, but was a first generation professional. Came over to London from Northern Ireland, and didn't end up getting the training contract route the way I maybe traditionally thought I would, but I ended up working for PwC. And I suppose what I learned along the way, as I shared a bit earlier, was that, when I stepped through the doors in my early career, I certainly had a profound sense of othering in my environment and work and at home, because I didn't necessarily come from a background where I could turn to advice from my family. And to be frank, the Belfast accent already made me stand out pretty much well enough on its own in my London office. I didn't want to be putting my hand up, marking myself out even further by asking questions about something that I thought other people would expect me to know. But it was as I moved through my career that I realized actually there was an awful lot more people right up to the top ranks of some of professional services sectors where people actually would privately admit that actually this is not a topic they feel awfully comfortable dealing with. And so this is where I started my career. Ali, if you want to move on, where I've ended up now is a radically different environment, startup land, right? So Wealthbright, we were kind of born out of the mission and this ambition to change the way we talk about finances in the workplace, really with a fundamental belief that this is not just about, and this is really important, if you take nothing else from today, this is not about being nice to your people. This is not about just giving accretive benefits or, that tag of financial well-being. It's actually really critical skills that will enable people to develop personally and professionally. And it's interesting, you've got a session later around managing firm finances. Well, I'm going to touch later on about why I believe actually having greater financial confidence and resilience in your personal finances has a direct mapping to your confidence in dealing with thorny issues like tricky fee negotiations or chasing up your debtor or your WIP balances. Actually being able to confront financial conversations head on comes with having the confidence and knowledge about how the money really works. So we've been on a journey. We've been working with businesses in the legal sector now for the last 3 years. I'm really proud this year to announce a collaboration both with Barbary and the Law Society in England and Wales. So we've come a long way. Excuse me, I've got a bit of the lurgy in kind of changing how people think about financial skills within the profession, but there's still a lot to be done, and it's great to be able to kind of share some of what we're doing here. I wanted to share a bit more with you, and Ali, if you want to move on, about what we know about how lawyers feel when it comes to personal finances. And this is taken from our last year's, we do an annual in-depth industry review, looking at the state of how financial issues come up for lawyers, both in terms of their confidence, their knowledge, their day-to-day management and planning for the future. And you'll see here some fairly stark figures. Folks, in general terms, don't rank themselves that highly when it comes to understanding the numbers. They don't have an awful lot of confidence in their skills. And they don't necessarily feel they've got it all figured out in terms of having the answers. Ali, if you want to move on, the next one will show you that actually lawyers also struggle with day-to-day management of money. So, actually something we see a lot of is just this gap between folks who would say they're not necessarily proactively budgeting. They're maybe sort of living on a sort of, well, I'll make ends meet, or, I've never really run out of money, so it's not all that bad. But actually what we see is there's an increasing trend upwards of lawyers who are regularly relying on credit because they've run out of money at the end of the day, and they're actually using that credit to pay for essentials. Sorry, Ali, if you want to move on to the next one. So that's the number 2. Lawyers are struggling with day-to-day management. Number 3, lawyers have money worries just like everyone else. It's one of the great myths, I think, in life that simply by earning more that you are automatically financially better off or more financially well. Actually, in our data and our research, which show that actually 72% of lawyers reported at least one sign of mental ill health as a result of their personal financial situation. And you can see here on this slide the different types of issues people were dealing with. Sorry, tickly throat. And as the video said at the beginning, it doesn't take a genius to realize that if you're struggling with some of these issues, you're probably not showing up to the workplace bringing your absolute best. Sorry. Ali, if you move on, the last one I wanted to share, and this is going to the positives. Yes, lawyers might be struggling, but actually lawyers want to improve their situation. They want to learn, they want access to resources, and they want to find ways of being able to improve upon their situation. And that's all really positive, right? And that's what I want you to take from this. You might be sitting thinking, oh gosh, that sounds a bit doom and gloom, but actually there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm going to ask you, Ali, just with conscious of time, if you could skip the next slide and go straight to the follow-on one. And here we are touching on why this isn't just good for you individually to kind of focus on your finances this year. 2025 is your year to take that kind of grab the bull by the horns and do something about it. Why? Because actually it does touch upon law firm economics, as I already mentioned. Financial acumen is a real game changer when it comes to understanding not just your personal finances, but actually how does your firm or your organization, place of work, make money, and how to manage that effectively and your impact on that. I think the other thing I wanted to flag is that, of course, it's really positive in terms of engendering high-performing teams. The data is very clear on this. If you're stressed about money, you're 2.2 times more likely to be looking for a new job. So actually, focusing on imbuing people with financial confidence really can deliver real-time results for them, but also it helps retention of staff in the workplace. And lastly, and this is something we've been kind of uncovering here in, say, in England and Wales. I'd be interested. Maybe someone could give me some feedback about the Scottish situation. But the code of ethics for lawyers under the SRA in England and Wales includes a requirement to adhere to principles of good financial conduct. And actually, within the code and the practice book, when you look at examples of what poor financial conduct might include, yes, there's the big bad ones like bankruptcy and county court judgments, but actually there's a curious line item included within the principles which also talk about a lawyer's ability to satisfactorily manage their finances. So actually for us, this isn't, again, just about actually building confidence and skills and knowledge in order to pursue personal development. This is fundamental to ensuring compliance with the regulatory standards that lawyers are required to adhere to. So what can you be doing about it then? You want some tips, you want some tricks in the last few minutes that I have. Ali, if you want to move on to the next slide, I want to start with some absolute basics, because as I showed you earlier, sometimes those basics are where people actually are maybe falling down without even realizing. So the first thing I want to encourage you today, and it might not come naturally. I used to be one of those lawyers who would say to myself, I'm a words person, I'm not a numbers person. But I think, we'll all be familiar with a growth mindset as being a really powerful tool for our career development. It's exactly the same when it comes to learning new skills like financial skills. And actually a growth mindset can really help you think about how getting clear on your numbers today, really having the audacity, if it takes it, to have a real in-depth look at your financial situation today is going to be the starting foundational step that you need to take to make a plan for tomorrow. It's impossible to make plans for tomorrow if you don't know where you're starting today. So if there's one thing you can do, it's absolutely get clear on your numbers. Secondly, is prioritize your safety buffer. Unfortunately, we do see some weaknesses in financial resilience within the legal sector. So I really want to encourage you to think about ensuring that you've got that cash ready to hand in case of emergency. We still see a lot of people, still over 40% of lawyers across all grades, by the way. This isn't just specific to junior lawyers by any means. This is lawyers across the grades and across income spectrums who say that they wouldn't be able to spend £850 on an unexpected expense without relying on borrowing a credit. So I really would encourage you to look closely at just how much of a safety net you have to fall back on, you and your household. Don't think that you have to start with a huge number that you're trying to grow to. If you're someone who's starting small, that's okay. Get into the practice and habits, build up your confidence and show yourself that you can do it. Because if you can achieve the small step, you're more likely to keep the practice and habit up. Third thing I want to say is ask for help if you need it. If you're someone who's sitting on this call, or you maybe know someone who is struggling, there are spaces and resources that you can go to. And there's spaces and resources that are specific for the legal sector, because I know and I appreciate that you might want to talk to somebody who really understands the dynamics that you're dealing with in your workplace and day-to-day professionally. So I want to give a shout out to Law Care, mental health charity for people in the legal sector, but also the Solicitors Charity, which is a specific charity set up to support solicitors who may be in difficulty, and they have specific remit to support those who are in financial distress. So if you do need that kind of help, there are ways that you can get it. And lastly, I really want to encourage you to continue this conversation. You maybe didn't think you were going to show up and hear someone talking about financial well-being on the 21st of January, first thing coming down your screen this evening. But I would really love to see you guys take this forward. Talk to someone else. Here's 2 questions I ask on all of our sessions when we run sessions, training sessions with people. I really want you to think about what's a money lesson you wish you learned earlier. Jot it down. Think about it. What's something you wish you'd learned earlier? And then think about a money hack or some real gem of wisdom that either you've learned along the way or someone else has passed to you. And I want you to think about who is it that you can think of in your network that you would be willing to share openly, perhaps vulnerably. Here's something I wish I'd learned earlier. And you know what? Here's a piece of wisdom I've learned along the way. I'm going to pass it on to you. It's all about paying this knowledge forward, and it starts with all of us being more willing and open to these types of conversations. So Ali, I think if you want to move to the final slide, that brings me to the very end, and that just really leaves me to say thank you very much. I hope I've given you a little bit of something to think about. I hope we might continue the conversation either in this format, or if you'd like to follow me on LinkedIn, you can certainly welcome to do so. But thank you very much for me. And I don't know if there's question time, but I'm happy to take questions if anyone has them.
Thank you so much, Carla. That was great. And you mentioned how people can contact you through LinkedIn.
Yep.
Any other socials or connections that they should know about?
I think LinkedIn and the website are the main routes to us. And yeah, I mean, people, I'm more than happy to share a direct email if anybody's interested. Ali, you should have it. So if you want to share it with those on the call, if anybody does want to have a follow-up conversation, of course, in terms of what we do day to day is that we do offer training in the workplace. So we do come in and deliver sessions, educational sessions for employees in the workplace, all geared around some of these core principles of money management, but we also have a heavy emphasis on supporting people to better understand workplace pay and benefits. So really breaking down, what does your pay slip mean? How do you read it? How does tax work? What is a pension? How does that actually work in practice? All those things that we get introduced to in the world of work, but don't always get the guidance around, practically speaking, what do they actually mean for me? And frankly, why should we care about them right now, right?
No, absolutely. And yeah, you're right. It's all these things that people kind of expect you to know. And I guess a lot of people get to a stage where they think, well, I've left it so long now, how could I possibly ask anyone? So somebody like yourself, and as you say, it's just opening that conversation, isn't it? And just, and I'm sure other people will be saying, well, goodness, I didn't have a clue either, but I was too embarrassed to ask. So it's a great resource for people to use and find out how they can be doing things better.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think it's really important. And I should say as well, for avoidance of doubt, I'm not a financial advisor. We don't do regulated financial advice. So, we kind of see ourselves on the spectrum of what it means to have positive financial knowledge. We're in the business of education, so it's really done with the emphasis on inclusion. And a lot of people might come to our education sessions and say, oh, right, okay, now I understand it. I've been wanting to speak to an advisor, but I didn't really have the confidence in the vocabulary or the knowledge of the questions I need to ask. And of course, that's great for us, because what we want to do is empower people to go away and make better, more informed financial decisions for themselves. So yeah, very happy to talk to anybody further if they'd like to know more.
Fantastic, Carla. Thank you so much for your time. That was great, and I'm sure a lot of people either watching live or watching the recording will be in touch to find out more. But thank you so much for your time. You are very welcome to stay with us. You mentioned you might have.
I might go and cough and die quietly somewhere else if that's okay. But apologies.
But thank you so much for your time. That was great. And as I say, we'll link all of that for people watching. So thank you again, Carla.
Thanks, Edith. Bye.
All right, you take care. So next up, we have our next guest, who is Gavin Ward, Director of MLT Digital. He is a connector. Hi, Gavin. Oh, I think you're muted. I'll just keep on introducing you and we'll say hello in a sec. He's a connector, former lawyer, and AI and legal content strategist for law firms. Welcome, Gavin.
Yes, great to be with you, Edith, and thanks a lot for your and Ali's kind invite. And that's a tough act to follow there with Carla's very professional PowerPoint and presentation.
Yeah, it was fab, wasn't it? And just as she was saying, breaking down taboos and encouraging conversations that people maybe are at a point that they feel they can't have but should be having.
I didn't expect to come out of this with some extra actions. No, it's very good.
So I am told that tonight you are going to tell us about all things digital marketing, something called generative engine optimization,
That's the one.
Blue Sky.
And Blue Sky, yeah. Now, I would start by saying that at MLT Digital, it's not normally myself that does this. It's normally my colleague Chris Davidson, who's out and about, and Stephen Moore, etc. But it's
is that a disclaimer before you start?
Sorry?
Is that a disclaimer before you start?
It's a disclaimer in that I speak to many law firms every week, many of our clients, but if I do go into too much technical detail on anything, such as the word decentralized that I'm about to say, then just let me know.
All right. Well, listen, Gavin, the floor is yours. Take it away, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Okay, thank you. And I've got 9 minutes. I appreciate it. So, yeah, hi, everyone. Thanks, everyone that's joining via LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, and coming in from various other sources. So, today I'm just going to discuss Blue Sky together with, sorry, that's my dog, my golden retriever Rizzo has entered the building. So, Blue Sky and digital marketing tips for law firms and lawyers. And I'm really focused on the sort of quick tips that people can take away today. So first of all, if we talk about Blue Sky, various people may have been on Twitter before it became X, but Blue Sky is essentially like one of the best new social media networks that's available. So like the tech is in many ways better than a lot of these other social networks. And I mean, so for instance, there's ways that it's better than LinkedIn. There's ways that it's better than X, than Facebook, than Instagram. I am not getting paid anything by Blue Sky for saying this, but yeah, it was a couple of months ago that I was introduced to it through my boss Stephen Moore's podcast, Your Law Firm Success. It was another lawyer, Brian Inkster, who actually initially recommended it. Some other lawyers as well, Joshua Lennon, for instance, and he said, right, you need to go onto Blue Sky. Blue Sky it's a decentralized social network, as I'm going to say. So decentralized as in you own all your data in it, and it's built on open source technology from a thing called the AT protocol. So Protocol Labs, they built it. Like their founders are amazing, very tech savvy. In terms of features and benefits, they've got some really, really good starter packs to get you started. And these starter packs include, so for lawyers, they include other lawyers that you can follow in these starter packs. You press one button, you're instantly following 100 lawyers, or you're following business leaders, politicians, academics, etc. And like I said, join your data. One of my favorite features from Blue Sky is that you don't have to post a link to your website in your first comment. So like say on LinkedIn, you'll see people posting something and then they'll post, first comment, oh, here's my link. There's none of that. It's like you post your link, you get the same visibility. As a result, it actually increases traffic through to your website. So some of the stats that we've been seeing on law firm websites, we're seeing extra visits in as a result, more than you'd be getting from things like LinkedIn or Facebook or anything else. In terms of benefits, yeah, you can really increase your connections, word of mouth, grow your personal brand, and yeah, increase website visits. In terms of a quick tip, if you are going to set up in Blue Sky as a lawyer, legal professional, I'd recommend that you have your firm set up and you have yourself as an individual set up. This concept is called posting in convoy. Brian Inkster had written about this. I've learned about this 15 years ago when I first became a social media consultant for law firms. But yeah, the way you do it is you post to your firm account and then you get yourself as an individual to share the firm's account. So you get your firm brand and then your personal brand. Like much in the same way that, say, for instance, Ali's doing this with Hey Legal is promoting the show, but it's Ali himself personally that's promoting it. So, I mean, I think that, in terms of other tips there, engage. I'd contribute and give more than you promote yourself, and that applies, I think, to all social networks and all content marketing that you do. I mean, my story on Blue Sky, I've only been there a couple of months. I've now got over 10,000 followers, which is not bad, and it's across different legal practice accounts. I mean, I'm still only experimenting, connecting, but yeah.
And is that, sorry to interrupt, Gavin, but is that you? How often are you posting then? How much do you have to engage to get that sort of following?
If you put it this way, yeah, I've been told at home to maybe cut down my Blue Sky posting in the evening. But no, there's ways. There's some really cool tools out there that you can automate it. You can outsource it. Like, you know how you can see like loads of ghostwriters on LinkedIn. We're going to be seeing lots of ghostwriters on Blue Sky as well. But I'd recommend being authentic, build it into your routine.
Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely.
So I mean, and that's all I got to say about Blue Sky, if that's okay. I mean, there's lots of other publications on this, and yeah, we've got a blog post about it on the MLT Digital website, where my colleague Emma Wyatt published a very good detailed analysis of it. So in terms of other digital marketing tips, right? So I mean, with our work at MLT Digital, we work with many law firm clients to help them succeed online. We have done for almost 20 years now. You want to get the basics right this year, so you want to make sure you get a modern law firm website. I would highly recommend that it's on WordPress, and if it's not, then speak to your if you have an agency, speak to your agency about getting onto WordPress. You want some really good SEO as standard. You want to be appearing in Google for some of your main keywords, the things that people are searching for. You want inquiries coming through steadily. That's the basics. We're way past that now. Like that's a given. What we're now seeing is, and this is our MD, Managing Director Gav Clark, who's really helped drive on MLT Digital in the last couple of years. He recommends having a digital first approach. Digital first, clients expect a digital first experience, which means clients really, they need to see better tech with your website, with the way you communicate. I mean, one way that one way that can be improved is by having what are called AI agents operating perhaps within your site. We've got a new arm to our business called Recept.io, where our founder Stephen Moore has identified a gap in the market. What Recept.io does is it helps convert your leads 24/7, always on, and it really helps save fear and our time, brings in better leads. It qualifies leads based on all of your website content. So that's just one example. In terms of AI as well, I mean, we're seeing through our law firm analytics, we're actually seeing people searching in ChatGPT, searching in Perplexity, and making an inquiry. So things like who's the best lawyer in Edinburgh for family law, or are you a family lawyer in Edinburgh? In ChatGPT, give them a list of 3 to 5. People are using that to make inquiries now. So we're trying to get ahead of that. One of the best ways to do that is by publishing more content into your site. Being better at Bing, because Bing powers ChatGPT search. Not many people know that. Most people think, I'll just get in Google, but you want to be in Bing. Yeah, other tips this year, video content. Only about 25% of law firms are using video content effectively or at all. I had a discussion with a managing partner of a law firm in London this morning. It's really hard to get lawyers in front of a camera. But if there is someone in your firm that is willing to go in front of a camera, there's amazing potential. YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all these things. Other tips, look to your online reviews. Try to get 5 stars in Google reviews. Try to get your team more involved, like employee-generated content. My colleague Emma Wyatt's got an upcoming blog post on this. So can lawyers in your firm write content for you? I mean, we do that ourselves. That's why my upcoming title is going to be content director. But We've got, if you've got lawyers that can write really good content, can write blogs, LinkedIn posts, appear on video, try to get reviews in their own name. We've heard law firms gamifying it so that the person that gets the most reviews gets a Marks and Spencer's voucher at the end of the month. But yeah, I think in conclusion, digital first is the way to go. Think your clients expect a better digital experience. Open yourself up to other marketing channels such as Blue Sky. And I think that's some of the main points, Edith.
Absolutely great, Gavin. That's amazing. I mean, I'm just listening to you thinking, oh my goodness, I need to get off of these socials that you're encouraging people on. But I can see that's for, in a business sense, and you can get lost in it. But I guess you're just encouraging people to make it work for you by posting, acting smartly and posting smartly so that people are then following you down a particular route.
That's it. I mean, one really big tip. I did this last January on the boss's advice. Do a personal branding exercise to find out. I mean, it's almost like a bit of self-discovery, about soul searching. Who are you? Who do you want to be? What do you be known as? I mean, in 12 months on, like, it's amazing what then happened. But it's like you start off with your mission. What are you trying to achieve? Some lawyers will want to try to achieve a change in the law, actually make an impact. Maybe there's a bit of charity around it. Connect more. For me, my brand metaphor, as it turned out, was the connector, which I then embraced. And yeah, I think start off with that. What else? Look, I mean, I gain quite a lot of inspiration from the American side of things, and it's not. I mean, politics aside, on Blue Sky, you don't think you just need to. I mean, that's a bit of an elephant in the room with Blue Sky, but just avoid the politics. And there's so many good connections out there. Just share and engage. I think that's about.
Well, that's great. I mean,
I may be out of time here.
I think you've filled your time sufficiently, but that's been really interesting, Gavin. And here's Ali on cue. Have you joined up for Blue Sky, Ali?
Well, Gavin's not Gavin's request, but Gavin assisted certainly with. I think I had joined it, Gavin, and you saw that I was there. I think I read some article about it, created an account, and as usual, then did nothing beyond that.
I think I've encouraged a few people to join it. And will do for some more. Yeah.
And are you still doing the dance videos on TikTok, Gavin? Are you moving to another platform?
It's interesting, the TikTok thing, other than it going down a couple of days ago in America. But what am I doing in TikTok? I got 1 million views in one day in TikTok because I get interviewed in George Square by a guy called from joe.co.uk.
Right.
I got like 4,000 likes and 1 million views.
What was the interview about, Gavin?
Scottish politics, I think. I mean, I was put in the spot, and it was about what's the stereotypical view of a Scottish person or something. I answered it very diplomatically.
Well, no, we'll need to check. We'll need to check that. We'll need to check that out. But we'll certainly put that in the link of the recording. Which is brilliant. Now, I'm obviously conscious of time, and this is great. Thanks, Gavin. But you're going to stay. Are you going to stay on with us, Gavin?
I'll stay on for some discussions.
Are you sure? Because we're going to be joined. I'm not officially meant to be taking part here. I just come in to say hello. But I will stay about, and but we're going to introduce our next couple of guests. Or Edith, me, but I'll add them to the group right now. But great to see you, Gavin. Thank you for that. And here come with additional guests.
All right, so we should be having Grant Eel coming on. So Grant, like Gavin, will be known to many of our audience. Grant is Head of Marketing and Customer Engagement at De Novo, which works with hundreds of UK law firms providing care management software. Grant, how are you?
I'm good, Edith. How are you? I've been trying to tune in between post bath time routine, snack creation, cutting strawberries and different things like that for my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old. So, but I've managed to capture quite a bit of it. To be honest, it's been really interesting so far, and actually quite good in that some of the points that Gav made, I might just follow up on a little bit once I've had a quick chat about the kind of software side of things. But I've just got a couple of points to make on one of the things I said.
Sure, no, that'd be great. Also to welcome Chris O'Day, who's joined us, another former accountant. Chris is CEO of the Cash Room, which provides outsourced cash room services to law firms in the UK and also in the USA. And Chris recently celebrated 10 years as a director. So welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks, Edith. Great to be here and joining the conversation.
Yeah, great. Well, we're kind of focusing, as we've been doing so far, the big focus is being on quick wins, tips, start of a new year, what people should be focusing on. Grant, do you want to throw in some ideas from you?
I can do this. Thanks. Again, just delighted to be involved in the conversation. I think from just from a de novo standpoint, in terms of what we are looking at in terms of a bit of a roadmap for 2025, we've got I'll just touch on maybe 2 or 3 elements and features that I suppose we would describe as quick wins, or at least wins for firms throughout Scotland. And I'll touch on them. I'll just give a little bit of detail, and then I'll go into the points I mentioned based on what Gav was talking about. So one of the first things that we're doing, it's really this year for us a lot about consolidation, right? So we have accounts functionality within our software, and one thing that we're going to be doing is really bringing that in to create one single user interface. We call it Caseload. It's essentially our case management platform. Our accounts, although linked, sort of lives in a slightly different environment, and that's all going to be brought together as we move through the year. It's really to try and create what we're always trying to achieve, which is this sort of whole practice management offering and a real kind of seamless user experience. So it's integrating the accounting workflows, it's enhanced reporting capabilities, allows you to manage the financial elements of the business and matter data. It's just going to be more straightforward than it's ever been. Also helps with our cashiering, which can be a pretty laborious and complex task. So the amount of automation that we're actually bringing into our own system there is going to be, I think, for some firms who are using some of these features already, they will see them as kind of quick wins, because the functionality that already exists will still be there. It's just that we're trying to speed up some of these processes. And we're doing the same with sort of like making tax digital as well. So bringing that into our caseload environment, really simplifying the tax reporting and compliance elements, and just ensuring that firms can meet their obligations more effortlessly than they've ever been able to do before. And something that we've actually had, and we get asked about quite a lot, is we've had an estate agency module within our software for a number of years, but it's really not been given the development time, I would say, that it probably deserved. And we've been focused on so many other features. But what we're actually now doing in our team, who I just posted about the other day on LinkedIn, to be honest, I think it was actually yesterday, just the work that our development team are doing to engage with legal professionals, solicitors, on a day-to-day basis to really ramp up what we are doing at the moment is honestly incredible. They're genuinely working round the clock, and the estate agency module, which my colleague Craig Bastard's working on right now, it's going to really elevate the kind of property sales management for firms. So it's going to be integrating with the likes of Rightmove, Zoopla, offering features like CRM tools, analytics, and it'll really start to streamline the process. So these are kind of enhancements to our interface that already exist, but we're just sort of turbocharging them for 2025. We're also boosting our collaboration with enhancements to our Microsoft Graph integration as well. So that's like improving communication across just Microsoft applications that you use every day. So Outlook, Teams, OneDrive, improving teamwork, information sharing. And, you know, that's our commitment really this year, is to keep innovating. But in all honesty, I mean, it's all down to the engagement that we have with our users, right? So they're telling us, ultimately telling us what they want the quick wins to be. And we're just trying to be reactive to that, and staying really in tune with their needs. Everything that we're doing is very much sort of rooted in reality. What is absolutely going to help someone in the legal profession in their day-to-day working life. And those conversations are ongoing between numerous departments within De Novo. But I think just having that relationship where we can be innovative together rather than us trying to sort of dictate to firms the way that they should be, you know, using the technology. We're actually asking them, well, what do you actually need it to do? And I think the beauty of how we've built our platform is just the level of customization, the level of freedom and flexibility that firms have to actually have that impact, and then have our or have that influence, and then have our very smart, much smarter than me developers actually build the features into the platform. And that's really what we're here to do. So I suppose my advice to anyone, whether you're using our platform or any other software platforms that are available to you, think about what you want the quick wins to be, and then ask the question. You know, what do you want from these systems, this technology that's been put in front of you? And I think, in all honesty, the majority of providers out there will be happy to have the conversation. How quickly they can act on what you're asking for is maybe another thing. But we try and act very, very quickly on it, because ultimately the way that we see any quick win, any technology, any feature enhancement that we add into our platform, it's not just going to provide more efficiency or a bit of time saving to one client. It's going to be across the board for the most part, depending on practice area, I suppose. Yeah.
So that, I mean, that's key, isn't it? It's communication and actually just communicating what you want and what you can provide, but working together, and that seems to be a good way to progress. I'm going to bring Chris in just now, just because I'm watching the call. We've got the seconds are ticking away. Chris, what about cash, and what kind of tips, what aims have we got for 2025 that you might be able to share with firms?
Yeah, thanks, Edith. And it's interesting for me listening to Carla earlier on in the session, where she was talking about sort of personal finance and tips there. And there's a number of things that Carla talked about which I can absolutely see, and it really resonates all the way through to firm finances and managing business finance ultimately. And the one thing in particular was where she talked about confidence or lack of confidence when it comes to finance. And I think that's something that I see across the Scottish legal sector, across the UK legal sector, and then again with clients we're working with in the US. And it doesn't really change. You've got that unit. While we work exclusively in the legal sector, ultimately, I think it's common across other sectors, and it's probably that professional mindset as well, where people almost don't like being outside their comfort zone. They come from this professional background where they're used to being the expert, and as soon as something's not in that real expertise range for them, it becomes uncomfortable, and almost you get that imposter syndrome, and they lack that confidence. And often it results in burying your head in the sand, I think, is the problem. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is that people, when they lack that confidence, they almost shy away from it and think, oh, I'll just do my fee earning work, or I'll just do the stuff I know. and I'll leave that stuff that makes me uncomfortable. And so I think one of a very quick win for me is almost get comfortable being uncomfortable with looking at finances and talking about finances ultimately, because it's so important to know that and almost embrace that and understand what's going on. I suppose just continuing on from that, Carla also spoke about getting clear on the numbers, and I couldn't agree with that more. It's a case of really understand the numbers that are going through your firm and through the business, and ultimately that will depend on the size of firm you are, the level of detail you need to get into, and it's very important, I think, to right size the financial reporting that you do within your business. And what I mean by that is, in small firms, you're going to need to be much more hands-on, obviously, but you can also get support, and you can have, whether it's a cashier you've got in-house or you're working with an outsourced provider, make sure that the data is good in the first instance, and reach out for the support to help you understand that. And the next thing I've sort of moved on to talk about as well from quick wins is it's all about planning. And from a financial perspective, we talk about budgeting and cash flow forecasting, etc. But at its core, it's planning. It's about understanding what you want to do and what that forecast looks like, and then measuring your progress and your profitability and profit and loss reports against that plan and against that budget. And I suppose that on that, the key thing for me as well is don't get bogged down in the detail. And what you often find is people think to know the numbers, they need to get into every single number every single month. Whereas I think it's important to find the space to elevate yourself up and look at the big picture ultimately. So if you spend the time creating your plan on a monthly basis, if you've planned you're going to spend £2,000 on marketing, for example, each month you don't need to go in and say, oh, I spent £100 here and £50 here and £60 there. Look at the big picture, and as long as you're in line with your plan, that's okay, and think about where that's trying to take you, so that you can spend your time really looking big picture rather than getting down into every single invoice and individual transaction line. So I think that's really important, because what I also and that often can do is when you get into that real detail, budgeting and profitability and profit and loss almost becomes a cost-cutting exercise. And I think that's a mistake that people often make, where things start getting tight and let's analyze every detail and what we can cut, rather than actually looking at big picture and understanding the return on investment we're getting. Because we've all heard stories, and it's interesting, the Gav being on and we talk about marketing, for example, but where when times get tough and marketing is a cost that gets cut, and you think, well, in actual fact, at times it's the opposite. It should be, we need an increased marketing spend because that's what's going to drive our top line and our
likewise with case management as well, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. From an efficiency and productivity, it can often look, oh, that's a big cost, but we don't really understand the impact it's having. So that's a couple I'm very conscious of time here, Edith, but a couple of sort of real quick wins for me. It would all come down to planning and understanding your numbers and working against that plan ultimately.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Grant, do you want, or Gav, do you want to add anything to that? Does that any of that resonate? Obviously, it does with you, Gav.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks, Grant. I've got a point I think relates to everything that everyone was saying, in that there's, including Carla as well, I've heard a stat saying that in the next couple of years, a third of all lawyers are going to be freelance lawyers, or in some capacity will be a freelancer, a freelance lawyer, rather than employed by a firm, say, as a partner. And I think it impacts on a bit of everyone's specialism here. But I was wondering if, say, Grant, yourself, Chris, had any insight into that.
Yeah, I think if I jump in, Gav, there, I think what I'm seeing is certainly a real shift towards the consultancy style model ultimately. Now, whether that's the true freelance lawyer, but you're seeing more and more of
maybe the work consultancy.
consultancy firms where you've got an umbrella company that provide a lot of the back office services, and there's that fee share model that is becoming more and more prevalent. I think certainly over the last 7 or 8 years, I think with the sort of ABS structures south of the border, we're seeing it quicker in terms of adoption. But it's certainly something we've seen really gaining pace, and I agree. I think it's going to continue that way, and it really linked to that lawyers and professionals wanting that work-life balance and a bit more control of their own destiny, without going down the traditional partnership route or launching their own businesses, etc. So yeah, absolutely, I see more and more of that.
Yeah, very interesting. That's great. And Grant, are you seeing the same? Are you seeing more lawyers come to you trying to set up their own firm and wanting case management, or is it?
Yeah, I think we saw a slight increase in that definitely over the past couple of years. It's sort of starting to break away slightly, but yeah, I think time will tell. It's hard to predict what's going to happen, because we also see the opposite. We also see the likes of high street firms thriving and building out their teams. So I think it's a difficult one to judge.
Yeah, I've heard that point as well. It's almost like some people are wanting the safety of being, for instance, a salaried partner in a safe, secure traditional firm that's been about for hundreds of years, for instance. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, sorry. Back to you in the studio, Edith.
Yeah, the only other 2 points I had, it was really just on a couple of things that you had said, Gav. It's particularly around the likes of search engine optimization, which is so vitally important, and every firm out there needs to be really serious about this. And I know that the generative AI part of it that you're talking about, where searches are now being done through the likes of ChatGPT. So basically 2 points. The first one, very quickly, to get Google reviews is hard, right?
Very hard.
It's very hard. There is a website, right, who sell or offer, a service, which are Google review cards, right? So these are physical cards that you can have at your disposal that you can give to your staff, your team, and they can literally get a client to scan, if you're seeing them in person, get them to scan a QR code on not even a QR code, it just scans the card. It's an image card. It's a really great idea.
Sounds ingenious. We've got a client that she's literally said she will not. I mean, ethics aside, she's kidding. She won't hand over the keys to a house in conveyancing unless they give her a Google review.
Well, there we go. This makes it even easier, and I suppose similar to Blue Sky, I'm not being paid by this company. I'm just very aware of it, and we actually use it as well, and it has helped us. And I've also recommended it to a few firms, and they're starting to use it, and they're starting to see their Google reviews increase. It's just review-cards.co.uk. It's a really useful tool. Very easy, very cost-effective way to get reviews, which will absolutely help your firm thrive online in terms of organic search. The other thing is just to be really, really conscious about utilising ChatGPT for any content creation. Be very aware, and I mean just general content. If you're building a website or whatever it may be, my advice is go to the likes of Gav, get them to help you with content creation rather than trying to utilise some of these sites. The reason I say this because the likes of ChatGPT is a great jumping off point. It's a fantastic for generating ideas, maybe some social media posts and things. Just don't ever start your post with it in the modern legal landscape, because that's the telltale sign.
Evolving, you mean, Grant? The evolving modern legal landscape.
Yeah, exactly. The reason I'm saying all this is because Google, and you'll know this better than anyone, Gav, they're re-indexing blogs, website content, so they're identifying AI written content. It's got to the stage now where you're being sort of penalised, and they're de-indexing your content, which means you won't rank. So, when it first came out, everybody was smashing out content. This is great. This will take me now 30 seconds to create content. The reality is that Google are very smart and they're aware, and they will de-index your content, which basically just means it becomes invisible. There are websites again that you can use to double check your content. Things like Quillbot AI are really, really strong platforms to help you just check over your data and things. The more it's all related to content, really, isn't it, Gav? You mentioned that. I mean, content's king now.
Content's still the future. It's still marketing. Like, I mean, you guys.
Yeah, you've got to create content, but there's ways. I think we've all still got to have a level of creativity about us to create it, and particularly around video content. One thing I'll tell you that ChatGPT is great for. I'm going to hog the limelight here for a bit longer, but it's really good if you were thinking about creating video content and anything like that, and you needed to give like a design agency or a videographer like a storyboard for your content. Put the information into the likes of ChatGPT. It will spit out a very well crafted and well structured storyboard for content. If you're looking to brief someone, I would say use it for that for sure.
That's a great point, Graham. I think it's amazing what it can do.
Guys, I think Dali and I could just be, and you three would just chat all night about this. Obviously very enthusiastic about it. Lots of great tips, and I'm sure those who are watching either just now or later will pick up on all of that. And even with my limited knowledge of these things, those sound like really helpful things going forward into 2025. So we'll maybe do another one of these later in the year to see if any of these things have developed, or you've got further tips for us. But can I thank you all for joining us tonight? It's been a really interesting hour, and I hope that those watching have picked up on these quick wins to implement. And if MD does and tries them and they work out, if you can let us know how you got on. But to all of you, thank you for your time this evening. And I think that's us. Unless Ali, you've got a hot tip for 2025.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm bringing a hot tip to the discussion, unfortunately. But I want to thank everyone who's taken part. Obviously, it's been really great. Lots of different practical things discussed. We did get the quick wins and the tips that we had asked for. I think with all this chat of financial planning and numbers and all of that stuff, the question I've got is, has anyone got anything in place for paying my tax bill at the end of the month? Because I'd like to know about that. Chris, if you can maybe send me something, if there's a spreadsheet somewhere that tells me how that's going to play out, that would be great.
All I would say is start planning now for next year, Ali.
Planning, okay. That's very, very, very wise words. But no, great. And obviously, as we well know in Hey Legal, it's not as though, like, I'm going to date myself here by saying that if anyone can remember going into a phone box and used to say, there goes the pips. Can anyone remember that? Because your 10 pence was running out and it was the end of, you needed to put more money into the coin box or whatever. Obviously in Hey Legal, we can run 5-hour live streams, and we could do that tonight if you want. There's another 4 hours in this, much more to cover, but I'm sure. What's that, Gavin? Are you saying yes to that?
Do it for charity.
I'm paying it forward, Gavin. So I'm sure you've got far better things to be doing. But thanks so much to you all. Thank you, Edith, for hosting. Thank you to all the guests for joining. We will take away the content here, create some shorter resources from it, some articles from it. We'll share that with you. And thanks to everyone who's watched tonight. And take care. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, take care. Thank you. I'll play the Carla video to close this down. Thank you.
I'm absolutely delighted that we're here today launching our digital platform.
It makes total sense that money worries affect performance at work. You've only got so much headspace, and if your mind is elsewhere, thinking about how you're going to pay the rent or increasing bills, etc., how can you possibly be fully focused on your day-to-day job?
So I'll talk from a personal perspective and also from a therapist perspective. From a personal perspective,